This is I'm from Denver.
Sammy, I am so excited to do this, man. You and I nerd out all the time about so many different things, digitally, marketing. We just talked about headphones for like 10 minutes. uh, so to actually get on this podcast with you, I'm super excited.
Yeah, man. Thank you. We do nerd out really well, Wiggs, for sure. And I'm honored to be here because as I learned more about you and Larry, and also I know Jake I've known him for a long time. He's bailed me out of some craziness. I didn't realize how much of an authority you were on Denver, and like how much background you had in the city and how much clout you have in production and all that stuff.
No.
So
It's like Wizard of Oz, man. It's just the guy behind the curtain. Because I ran into someone the other day, literally at Office Depot, and they were like, they knew Larry, and then I was like, yeah, I'm producer Wiggins, and they're like, oh, I thought you were like 55 and gray hair. So no one has
yeah.
any idea what I do, but I'm the man, I guess, behind the curtain. But yeah, I'm from Denver, and no one really knows how I founded that and got that started. And then Jake and Larry came on, and then ultimately we wanted to do a podcast for Colorado businesses, and Jake was like, oh man, you got to bring on Sammy. He's the founder of Evolved Podcasting. I mean, you're an advisor and a media consultant for Accelerated Intelligence, AI, and a celebrity DJ, but you're also from Colorado. So we got to preface that, but you've done so much that I was like, let's quit nerding out and actually talk about all these things and how it can help Colorado businesses, because I kind of want to get away from being behind the curtain and help brands kind of the way you're doing it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody that got out from behind the curtain in a really cool way was like in my world, like Macy Gray. Remember Macy Gray? She used to write all the music. Well, she did what you're doing in a way because she came out and wrote that I said goodbye and I choke, and she actually recorded
like this. Yeah.
Yes. And they're like, you're gonna be a star. So I think it's your Macy Gray time, Wiggins, because you half the time I listened to you, I was like, why didn't you say that? And I think that's where the impetus for this conversation started, is that you and I have this great circular conversation always going around things that help small businesses.
Yeah.
And especially ones that are trying to grasp onto the new parts of the intellectual parts of AI, the structural parts, and then like what we look at doing is how do you use AI in ways that people aren't thinking. And so people that are just listening to this show, they might be like, all I do is I write social media content with my chat GPT, but it goes so much deeper.
It's not necessarily wrong. Like, I mean, that is the way you do it, but the power of it, and you've brought this up before, how there's the capability of like 50 AI tools that can save 50 hours a week, and you have this whole strategy with that. But the power within AI is so much deeper than, hey, can you write me a social media post? I mean, that's great, but man, if people actually utilized it for what it really can do for them, it's night and day.
Mm-hmm. And I would say most of the people that are your audience, especially for the I'm from Denver small businesses, we talked to Jeff Suskin from the tacos and dining out, and JJ Walker and all those people. I've known them for decades. And the thing that's funny is when I start showing them exactly how you can use a stack of AIs, and then you have Mensa level intelligent technology all working for you for free. So if you can imagine that's where people don't realize. They're like, I have to type in this prompt and make it think. You don't. There's tools to help you create a better question. Then you can take that question and put it into one single platform and have all 5 of them work against each other to see who has the best answer. And
but there's already people confused by all that. How do you handle the people? Because I was this way. I don't know if it's a little bit of intimidation mixed with arrogance to where you're like, I don't need that. I that's not going to help me. Like, how do you get past that kind of hurdle of even the basics for it? Because I think you're right. There are these tools to use it for, but like, how do you just kind of start from square one and know how to use it the right way before you're able to institute all those different tricks?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. It reminds me of the very first time I saw the power of this technology used in a place that I never thought it would be. And I'm going to tell you a story that really it made it the light switch turn on for me, and I could see how insanely powerful this would be, not just for use cases for business, but for life in general. And so, taking a 30,000-foot view back on this, when I first learned about Chat GPT, my son had been born 3 days prior. And so, when you have a newborn, you know this, you don't sleep. You're like, what am I doing? You're in the Navy SEAL training
Yeah,
stage
yeah,
of
yeah.
life. So I was up prompt, like sending these questions. My friend sent me the Chat GPT link. I was on it the day it came out. And I was blown away because I was asking it questions. And I was, at that time, this is in 2020, 2022, all of the stuff wasn't grabbing information from the internet in real time. It was always stuck at a certain point.
Yeah,
But
yeah, because I
it
think
was
if people used it before, it literally capped it at like the year 2021. So anything,
2021. Yeah.
yeah, so
Mhm.
anything prior to that was grabbing. Anything after that, it wasn't using as a reference. It's
Or
changed.
worse, it was just making stuff up. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
whoa, this isn't right. So I learned very quickly. I was like, well, you gotta vet out your answers. You gotta vet out
Yeah.
what you're asking it. And so anyway, I became really good at prompt engineering, which I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I'm very inquisitive. I've gotten to where I've gotten because I'm a great connector, but great connectors ask insane questions, and I've always been a really good question asker because I'm, for lack of a better term, I just I just have a voracious appetite for knowledge, and I love people. So I'm always asking questions, and I just kept asking questions, which turned into me being an incredible prompt engineer. So I got really good with the technology. Now fast forward, I'm still really good with this, and you know me, I DJ. So I was on tour for an event, and I get into an Uber, and the Uber driver is a single mother. I find this out later. She has 3 kids. She's a single mother of 3 kids. We're in New Orleans. The car is swerving all over. I'm like, we're gonna die, and I'm like,
Is it
why?
because you're driving or something was wrong with the car?
Something was wrong with the car, but she was
Yeah.
also very distracted, and like she had all the things. I'm like, and so I just remember I was like, okay, what are you doing in this? I asked her, I go, what are you driving for? Like, are you driving because this is your only job, or what's going on? I just wanted to ask. And she goes, no,
Yeah.
no, no, I'm trying to save up money to go to school so I can buy or I can pay for this class so I can get a better job and I can get a better job and make more money. I just need to make, I was like, so you need to make more money. I go, how much money do you need to make? And she said $560 and I can go to this class. I need to make an extra $560 to do this school. So I'm on my phone. I have ChatGPT pulled up. I go, listen, I don't want you to have to kill people driving Uber. No offense, your car is a pile of shit and it's scary back here. She's like, I know, I get it. And I go, how about we do this? While I'm in the car with you right now, I'm going to help you think of 35 different either jobs or things you can do to make some extra money. And let's just put a cap on it. Let's just say make an extra $1,000 doing what you're doing right now as a single mother. And she's a black mom with three black kids. And she was like, yeah, whatever you think would work. So I type in,
Probably
help
thinking you're out of your
me.
mind. Like she probably is like, what is this guy talking about? To a certain
She's
extent, right?
like,
Yeah.
yeah, we have a little rapport. So she thinks I'm just going to come up with some ideas, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I type into ChatGPT. I actually speak it into it and I say, help me come up with 35 different job opportunities that I can do as a single black mother of 3 kids in New Orleans to make an extra $1,000 a month. And ChatGPT, in its way, said, bum, 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 listed out 35 different things that she could do.
Wow.
It was selling water, partnering with restaurants, having her kids make stuff that was unique to New Orleans that they could sell, and she could tell the story of what they're doing, draw pictures. It was like simple stuff. And she looked at me and she's like, how did you do that? What is this? And I told her what it was, and she's in tears. She's like, I never would have thought of this. But the cool thing is, the reason she was so moved by it, Wiggs, is she was like, I can do these things. I'm like, totally, you can do these things. So I get out of the car, we hug, I leave, I get back to California.
You're so
A
awesome.
week,
Not many people can say they get out of the car. We're transformative for that individual, like life and whatever happens next. But actually hug their Uber driver.
I always hug my Uber drivers. I would love them. But this is the best part though. I get back home. I forget about this experience. A week and a half, maybe 2 weeks later, I get this picture that pops up. It's the Uber driver. And she had sent me 10 pictures or 20, it's like a bunch of pictures
Right.
of her kids making the stuff. She'd partnered with a restaurant. She had made maps and she had made an extra, I think it was like $580 one week from what we had figured out how to do. And
That's
so
crazy.
I was like, holy shit, she did it. And so why I tell that story, because when people look at AI, they go, okay, how am I going to write a post? How am I going to do this? You can take your phone right now and you can ask 10 different questions like, hey, what are 5 to 10 good questions I can ask the kids to get engaged at home with tonight after they get back from school, when they go
Yeah.
back to school? What are 10 things I can do? You can take a snapshot of your refrigerator and go, I only have this in here. What's something healthy I can make?
Yeah.
And it will tell you these things. You can say, hey, we're going on a trip. I have 5 minutes to plan this trip to Michigan with my family. What are the essentials I need to do? Just list it out, mom's list, dad's list, and the kids list.
So
Boom,
while
boom, 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 boom,
people
boom.
are thinking it's like, oh, it's going to help me write an email or social media post, it really is an everyday tool. I mean, I literally use it every day. I've used it so much that you literally can have too many prompts that there's not enough memory left in ChatGPT that you have to go like delete some things. And because I was doing the same thing, asking it just the general specific questions. Like I
Right.
was doing P90X and I lost the whatever, the nutrients book, the nutrition book, and so I was like, okay, I'm doing P90X. I need kind of a recipes to follow for the week, and then I need you to create those recipes and then give me the ingredients on a shopping list.
Totally.
It gave me the
Totally.
whole week's worth of recipes, and then, hey, when you go to the store, buy this stuff, and this is how you're going to make it out. The time that took, if I were to just follow the book back in the day or try to make a shopping list, it took 30 seconds for me to write it and get the answer versus the
Right.
30 minutes to do it myself.
So good. See? And so I tell you that because what business owners need to do, to relate it back to business, what owners need to do is they need to figure out kind of what's at the core, the soul of their business,
Mm-hmm.
and then how to put that into their mind. Like, what's the most important part of our business? Where are we choking? What's happening? How do I figure that out? And then that chat gpt is going to tell them, and then they can put it into actions. In my space, we call it the head, the heart, the hands. So like, what's the real core of the issue that's going on with our company? How can this technology help me in this certain category? And then what can we do to implement it? And so, what's great and what people forget to do is ask this technology, and we'll get into AI stacking if you want to. But the first thing you got to do is teach it to act as somebody, as either your mentor, your business coach, a business partner,
Oh wow, yeah.
and teach me as a $1 million business coach, what are the top 10 things I need to be looking at with my company going through these issues? And it's going to give you an idea, and you're going to go, oh, that makes sense in a list. And then you can say, even more diluted down, you can say, now, as that list is okay, can you tell me the top 5 things I should do with financial planning, and give me the top ranked people that can help me figure this out, but put it in a table format with the link to their websites and a ranking, and put that in a table format for me to export into a CSV file so I can send it to some people and we can work on this together, as well as give me some resources that I could call. And it's going to pull all those things together. And so what you got to do first is teach it to act like somebody. Act
Mm-hmm.
as this. Act as somebody that can help me out. Then you're also going to take that, and this is like kind of business 101, because what are you doing? What are the transformations that you're helping your customers get? What are you really working to make sure that they do, which is transform, sell something, your service, your product, your knowledge. You're really helping a company or your client make a transformation. So sometimes people get jammed up in all the technology, when you got to remember, like, what is the transformation that most of these people want? Query all of the data that you can find from XY source and tell me what are the biggest problems people are looking for, say in
Yeah.
modern food or dining out. What are the biggest problems people run into? Usually it's
Because
sourcing,
like
it's
you said,
food prices. Yeah,
going to the basics of business 101, like, and you just said it, is like, what problem are you solving? Well, you can think but isn't it better to have a general consensus of online data to tell you, no, these are the 5 things that people worry about the most, that helps you dial it in, because
100%.
it's not that we're wrong in the thought process of what we think our customers or our clients need. It's just that we don't know everything, right? And
Totally.
if you can get past that and utilize that, like you said, to be like, hey, help me dial this in. It really is. I love that you said that. Like, be my mentor, be my business coach, be my consultant here. Because
Hmm.
when you treat it as um, that resource that you can get information from, then you could dial in, like you're saying, those more specifics. I know I'm just reiterating what you're saying, but it really is a great point of focus, is to be like, okay, what am I solving here? Tell me as a consultant what I'm solving here, rather than just say,
Absolutely.
tell me how to do this. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
Give me general, real feedback that I can use. It's so smart.
absolutely. And then you can also say, you can take, and this is where you start to expand on what you need once you figure out what transformation you're taking your clients through. And I always think of small businesses in Colorado. I love them. I used to have an office at the Battery. You know where the Battery is on
Yeah,
6th and
yeah,
Kalamath? It's like
yeah,
the first co-working space in like America, I think. It was sick. It was amazing. And there was a myriad of different businesses in there, and every single business had its own personality, it had its own culture, it had its own customer. And the thing that was amazing about each one of those companies, and what I learned from the Bacon Group, from the Winklers and the guys that started that, and who else is in there? There's some heavy hitters. The guys that the Mackie, the it was a design group called Mackie, and he designed Instagram's logo. Like, it was an
wow,
incredible time to be in this space. Like, I just feel so honored and blessed to have spent time there.
yeah.
And then there was my film production company that was in there. But what I learned from them is that once you figure out how you can transform somebody and transform their company, and know what your secret sauce is, what you're the best at, and what you can use this technology to figure out, hey, we specialize in this. How can we set ourselves apart to be totally unique in this space, knowing that these are our parameters and these are the things that we solve for people? What can we expand on? What can we be unique in our space doing? And once all those companies had figured that out, then they needed attention. And that's where we get into the social media. That's when we get into writing articles and writing blog posts, and the amount of content that you should be turning out, because right now the currency is attention. It's going to be that way for God knows how long. That's when you can really make that incredible content. But you need to know, like you guys realize, I'm from Denver. It's such a wide breadth, but it is so narrow. Like, you guys understand, like,
Oh yeah.
people from Denver that were there when I was there. Remember we talked about the avatar and the people that we love from Denver. First, it was like, you know what? Who are the people that have the small businesses that we really love to connect with and really support? It was probably the people similar to our age, right? That watched
Yeah.
Alex English and and like Bill Hanslake, the Elway, the Three Amigos. Like, that was our crew, and we're like, okay, let's expand on that. These are the people that we want to serve. What kind of businesses? Anyway, you can go deep into that. But what happens is you figure out how to really create the content that gets that attention by using the first steps of figuring out how we serve people, how we transform them. Awesome.
Yeah, because
Now
it's
give
almost like
me
for people that don't know what a prompt is, I mean, that's basically what you're writing in there, that question to prompt Chat GPT. But basically what you're saying is, like, we dial in the funnel and get the answer that we need, and then almost create
totally
a new prompt or a new breakdown of that, so you can go down the next funnel, and you're literally dialing it in rather than keeping it, to your point, so broad that you don't know what
right.
you're doing and you don't know who your customer base is, and you're trying to sell shoes to this guy and you're trying to sell sandals to that girl, but you really don't know who that guy is and that girl is until you
Hmm.
dial it in. And then when you dial it in, then you're able to say, well, what kind of sandals do they like? What kind of shoes do they like? Why do they like those shoes? And it is almost having like an entire team working for
Yeah,
you, but you just
100%.
working working within your computer screen.
Yeah, and have you heard that term like AI is not going to take your job, but somebody using
Yeah, which
AI absolutely will.
yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
we've
without a doubt.
we've watched many companies that we've consulted, many this was what's crazy as somebody that's an entertainer first and foremost. I get I get the privy of connecting with such a wide breadth of businesses. At no
Hold on,
point in hit
we did say that. I don't know if we knocked on the door of you being a DJ because you're a DJ for some of the top wellness entrepreneurs, and I don't want to kind of skirt over that because you've done a lot of things. But when people are like,
Sure.
who's this guy? He's got a podcast. He teaches people AI. But your main kind of starting point was being a DJ. I don't want to lose topic of what
Yeah.
we're talking about. But when everyone's saying, "Hey, what? He's a DJ now?" Like, it does
Well,
sound like you've done it
here's
all.
what's great too. For I'm from Denver, for your audience, probably the funniest thing that's ever happened for me is how I became a DJ is I was working the only place I could get a job after I burned my buddy's house down. Story for another time. I was desperate to get a job. The only job I could get was at a club called Alley Cats, which is above the Diamond Cabaret, and it used to be a nightclub. And Patrick was like, "Hey man, I'm going on tour. Take my job for the week if you need it. Get some extra cash." I got to Alley Cats. I walked upstairs and they handed me a duffel bag, and that duffel bag had mints, napkins, and a little dish for cigarettes. And I was like, "What is this? Where am I working?" And they're like, "You're the bathroom
Wow.
guy." So I ended up my only job I could get was working in the bathroom at this nightclub. And I'm looking in the mirror at myself and I'm like, I don't know if it can get any lower than this. Wow, you've really hit this. This is the rock bottom. And as I'm having this moment, all of a sudden this pounding music just starts hitting. And I was like, what is that? And it was the first time that I'd really just heard amazing house music, and I went out there and the DJ booth was set just off by where I was. And so I could see the DJs getting ready for the night and stuff, and I was like, dude, I got to get out of this bathroom. And my way out there, I got to figure out my way out there. Just going to figure this out. And I realized that first night that DJs are motivated by girls and drinks typically. And so as the bathroom attendant, I made like $400 the first night in the bathroom just being myself.
Wow.
And it was crazy. You can make a lot of money in the bathroom, especially at a nightclub above a strip club. So just saying. And I made good money there. I also was meeting people, and the girls' bathroom was right next to the men's bathroom. So I was always just connecting. And so I'd
Yeah.
save my tip money, and then I would buy shots for the DJs and take girls up and have them meet them and take them shots. And then I would be like, "So here's a shot. Here's a Washington apple. That was like the drink of choice. This is Lisa.
You're all,
What's
and
that
a
button
mint.
do?
Here's a mint also.
Yeah, here's a mint. What's that button do? Oh, what's this do? Oh, what's that do?"
Wow.
And so I took like 6 weeks of this job and curated my friendships through that. And there was also another really interesting thing that was happening at the time. Um, Napster was really big. So I was able to download a ton of music, and I was also able to find these crazy little remixes that people were starting to throw up there. And I
Wow.
found this crazy remix of Pond to Replay by Rihanna. And there was it was a Friday night where one of the DJs couldn't play very well. There's such a rotating group of DJs. I don't know which one this one was, but he was terrible and he was too drunk to play. And I jumped out of the bathroom, kicked him out, and put in my little USB stick and loaded it up and played like 20 minutes of this set. And the place went crazy. And that was kind of the start of how I became a DJ. And they introduced me to Kevin Larson. Kevin Larson introduced me to Tim Claddick, and Tim Claddick introduced me to JJ Walker, and JJ Walker, and all of us just started like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I had actually even gone to college at the same school as JJ and Jeremy, and it was just nuts that we all came together at this time in Denver. But
Wow.
my start as a DJ started in a nightclub bathroom.
I think what's amazing about that, because you have done all these things, and that is inspiring. So we could talk about AI, and people are, wow, this guy really knows his stuff. We're podcasting. Wow, this guy knows his stuff. Or DJing. But everyone's got a starting point. I love
Yeah.
that. That to me is what is like so instrumental in anyone that owns a business or anyone that's trying to be an entrepreneur. Is like there's always a starting point and there's a ton of failures. And I don't want to get off the point of where you were as a DJ, and how you've been working for these celebrities, because that was what got us on this topic. But I think it's a great story to share, and good for you for just being able to do that. But let us fast forward to this kind of that started this, where as a DJ, who have you helped and what has that space been like? Because you have been working with some of the top entrepreneurs in the wellness space and across the world.
Totally. Yeah. So to kind of circle it back to the small business owners, I think one of the things that has helped me and that really helps me with utilizing AI is that I continue to remember the thing that helped me before any of this happened. And that was my ability to sell or transform, or not even transform, but just sell my ideas. So sales
Yeah.
was a really big part of it. And I always train teams. I train businesses. Like, listen, if you don't know how to sell very well, use AI to teach your team how to build rapport, how to do those things on a mass level that is way beyond any training they've ever had. So anybody that's using AI should be able to use your God-given skills and expand on those. And so what I did, prior to this AI revolution, what I started doing is I started really focusing on working with people that I really wanted to serve. And I have I have a big heart for staying focused on your goal, or you want to call it manifesting or faith or whatever. But I have a really, really strong compass towards just getting a goal in front of me and just focusing on that relentlessly until it
Good for
becomes
you.
a reality.
That's hard.
And so,
That is
yeah,
hard.
it's super hard. And I did it to the point where I would like it become part of like my DNA, my rituals, everything I was doing. And so one of the biggest, you know, things that we all want to do as entertainers in Colorado is play at Red Rocks. And so I would put that on my vision boards and my goals, in my dreams and my processes, my mantras, my prayers. I did that for almost 9 years. It was after I saw Pearl Jam play there in 1997. I was like,
You
I'm
need
going
to
to
quit
play on that
aging your.
stage.
You need to quit aging yourself with Napster and these dates, bro. Like it was 2002. Okay, no, but that's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, I end up playing at Red Rocks 4 or 5 different times. I got to open up for
Uh,
Kid Cudi and Empire of the Sun for Global Dance Festival. And so I just knew that if you can put your mind, your soul, and all your alignment towards things, you're going to just have that become a reality for you if you work hard at it and you stay in that vein of focus and determination and hard work. That's the short version of that. So I was determined to just work with the best, most enlightened people in the world. That's just kind of my DNA. That's how I was brought up. And I started connecting with these people that loved my energy as a DJ because I was a little bit different. I was always in the crowd. I never feel like I had much of an ego as a DJ because I would be like, yeah, you want to play that shitty song? You got it. And I
yeah,
would just play it, right? Because it's not, I feel that to be a really good performer is a transfer of energy. And it's a transfer of you and them sharing an amazing experience together. And so that also goes with business. Like a great business has a great experience. Like if you go to a restaurant and you have an amazing experience, you are going to tell people. You go get
versus
your car
being like
fixed.
this is like if someone walked into a restaurant, which is
Yeah,
kind of the same thing for a DJ, where you're like, no, you're eating the hamburger and you're gonna like it with extra ketchup, and it's gonna be the best thing you've ever had because I know how to make a hamburger. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with
right.
the DJ, to where it's like, well, I can't just give you music that that I think is the best music. I'm gonna give you something that you
Totally.
want to enjoy. Yeah, totally interesting.
Exactly, and it's also, I mean, there's such a rabbit hole we could go down on this, but I've done shows even, Wiggins, where I've given a DJ my music, the exact same music that I've played. I'm like, here you go. Like I do it all the time. I used to do it for DJs that were coming up, and I'd be like, here's a USB stick. It has like 500 songs on it. Have fun with it. And they still suck. I'm like, dude, that's all the music I play. Why do you still suck?
Yeah.
Same thing with a good business. It's like, here's all the same ingredients. Y'all have marketing, y'all have customer service, y'all have sales. Some businesses suck, some don't. What do you have to do? What makes you stand apart? And that's where this technology is going to help you unfold that. Anyway, long story short, I start getting connected to these people because of my energy, because of my experiences, and because of the way that people would remember how they felt. Like people forget, how do you feel when you exchange with a business or exchange with a certain experience? And so people just loved being around me. I totally get that. And I started connecting with these bigger and bigger companies. And the first big company that took me on was a company called Mind Valley. And they flew me out to Hawaii for my first show with them. And I became fast friends with their owner. Mind Valley is this personal development company. It's probably one of the bigger ones in the world right now. They introduced me to 20 of the most powerful people that I ever met at that time, one of which was doing parties for Richard Branson, who owns Virgin Galactic and
Yeah, who
Virgin
doesn't know
Records and
him?
all those.
Yeah.
I then find myself in his field playing his shows, and then they're like, "Hey, we're gonna take you to our friend Richard's house so you can play some shows for him," which was Richard Branson. And I was like, "What?" So they were doing an event there. So I've played for Google and Richard Branson and Mind Valley, and then that turned into me being like,
Are
I
there nerves in that? Like, I mean, for them, they're just like, I'm going to take you to Richard's house. And you're like, all right, but I mean, is there a sense of like, oh my God, I can't mess this up, or you're just feeling very confident that you know how to read a room and make that go on? Like, what are you feeling when you're going to set up for something
there's
like that, having been in that space?
there's always a sense of, oh God, I hope this technology doesn't fail, like i.e. your computer doesn't work or your USBs don't work. That's the only thing I ever worry about now. But where I did get nervous on this one is when I landed in Mosquito Island, and then they put me and all my gear on this dinghy, and this dinghy was sweet. It was like a Navy SEAL flotation device, and then boated me up to the house, and I was like, oh my God. And you just see this house that's on this island. It's his house is the island. And I remember that's when my hands started sweating. I was like, whoa. And those people that were paid to be there at that party had paid $25,000 to $30,000 to be at that island for those days. And so
Wow.
I was felt the pressure. I was like, dude, you better perform. Like, if you're gonna go and they're paying that much for you to be here, then you better bring the A game. And so I I rose to the occasion, obviously, and I've been there a few times since, but the nerves really come from not being prepared. Like if you're not prepared, that's when all hell breaks loose. And just to kind of turn that back into like what we're talking about, this technology has helped me as a business owner, as a performer, as a dad, as a friend,
Yeah.
as a partner. It's helped me be prepared better than any time in my life. And that's what's like crazy about this is people don't understand, how do I how do I get prepared? How do I have luck work for me? Cuz I've heard the definition. Have you ever heard the definition that luck is nothing more than preparation meeting opportunity?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you would look at this opportunity with AI using agent GPTs or a stack of AIs, this is the time where you can be more prepared for any opportunity than any time in history. And it just takes a little different way of thinking. So I think the whole idea, without getting stuck in the minutia of what tools are you using, because I'll give you a list of 50 of the best tools for your group here today. But those tools don't mean shit if you're not looking to, how do I prepare to serve my audience the best? How do I prepare to give them the best experience they could possibly have? How do I
Well,
prepare
and what
to
about
say,
if someone knows how to prepare, right? And so let's say they got their customer dialed in, but they lack the ability to communicate with them on social media, and they think that having AI, right? Because I've seen AI, you can tell when an AI writes a post. How can you create the framework, if you will, and I think you've talked about that before, to creating consistent quality of content, right? Because
super
I think
simple?
yeah, okay, yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because I think that's the thing that people struggle with the most is that's
100%.
their
Mhm.
that's their last priority is social media, but it's also a big part of everything.
It honestly, I would say organic attention to get on social media, especially with TikTok and Instagram. They're the main thing you have to do, and this it has nothing to do with AI at first. This has to do with you as somebody that consumes social media. What you need to do is reverse engineer attention. You need to understand what is getting attention and why it's getting attention. So if you look at people like Mr. Beast, you look at people like even Joe or Alex Hormozy, one of my favorites,
Mhm.
what they've done, and this is something that AI did not do for them. And I'm going to actually tell you a couple tools that will actually help you with this. But what they did is they literally took apart thousands. Mr. Beast said he watched over 100,000 hours of videos to figure out what did they do at this second, what did they do at that second,
A
what did they do at this second.
formulaic, a formulaic,
Mhm.
yes, because
Yes.
everything is binary code. Everything is binary code. That's
Everything's
incredible.
binary code. So what
Yeah.
you have to do, and that's why one of our companies that I work and partner with is called Social Boom. And I realized because when we're producing podcasts, Wiggins, the podcast is a long game. Like that's not a hey, we launched a podcast, it's number 5, but now we can do that. But at first, we did not have that. So we needed to figure out what's a quick win. So I needed to figure out how do we reverse engineer attention and get people from 0 to 100,000 followers as fast as possible. And that is when I partnered with a company called Social Boom, and that is their sole purpose is to help people get from 0 to 100,000 followers, organic followers, not algorithmic, not like
Not
doing
bots. Yeah.
stunts, not bots, not fake people, because those don't do anything for you unless you just need it for yourself. And that's what makes you happy, which is stupid. If you can do that, you can set the trajectory of your business in a whole new stratosphere because those are people that want your stuff. But the way you do that is you have to go in and you have to reverse engineer attention. And the way to do that is you go and look at reels in your space and dissect them. Like, why does this one have 50,000 views? What are they doing? What are the commonalities? What are the things that they're doing that make it
I
work? And
love that, man. I
so
have a book that I
simple.
read that's called Decoding Greatness, and it's the same strategy. And I and I did not mean to interrupt, but I think it's super important for anyone that's listening or watching that it's like that is no joke to deconstruct something that has been successful, right?
Totally.
Movies are formulaic. TED Talks are formulaic. If there's a successful TED Talk, well, you could break down that's what this Decoding Greatness does. It used that as an example. Hey, here's a 1 hour TED Talk. 7 jokes are told in this. 15 points are made. To set up every joke took 30 seconds. To deliver the joke took 15 seconds. And while it sounds so like, yes, I'm getting it down to the granular aspects of the TED Talk, it will set the path for you to recreate your own TED Talk because you know that it works. So I think that
Totally.
tidbit of advice is so huge, Sammy, and I think that you can't kind of just brush over that. It's a big point that you just made there for businesses of all sizes.
And now, one of the things that we love to do is we think it's hysterical because back in the day, people had to just watch the videos and figure out what did they just talk about? What took that apart? Why did that work? Now you can use like Tube Summarizer or Tube Buddy or Adify,
Yeah.
any of these
So you're
tools.
saying when you're saying those names, you're
Yes.
saying these are AI tools, right? Like that's what
That
you're
go
referring to.
along. They're a plugin that will work on your Google Chrome browser that will actually take apart the video, summarize the video for you, give you the main points. So you're like, oh, that's what the video is. I don't have to sit through an hour and a half of that to get the main points. Like I love Joe Rogan, but I don't have time to sit through 3 hours of it. But I do want to know what they're talking about, what stuff's relevant, and get to it.
Yeah.
And so it will pull those out. You can also ask those AIs questions like, hey, what was the hook here? How do I replicate the hook if I'm going to do this? And you just get really creative. And so, like, what we've done is we can compress 40 hours of learning into a 30-minute window. And
Okay,
that's
okay.
how
Is this part of the list of the 50 AI tools? Like, I feel the first thing I want to do is be like, because I'm already nerding out on that, but it's like, even like you said, we're reaching 40 minutes in this podcast. someone might not have a full 40 minutes to listen to it, but it's like they need this tidbit. How do they get these tools? Where do they find them? Is this something that you've set up and made it accessible? Like, what is
Totally.
what is
There's two
what does
things.
that look?
There's two compartments. So one will give you the free AI tools, as well as what you can do to shorten and basically take and compress 50 hours of learning into a 30-minute window. I'll give you those tools really simply for you. They're all in there. They're listed in there. And the deal, though, the deal, Wiggins, isn't like you could say, "Hey, look at all these beautiful parts, and I gave you all the parts to a Ferrari, and here's a
Mhm.
toolkit.
Mhm.
Enjoy." You're not gonna
Yeah.
go anywhere. You're gonna be like, "Shit, what do I do?" So what
Straight
I'll do
up.
is I'll
I
show
mean,
you I'll just give you the main tools that you need to use, right? The main tools that you're going to want to use is a Chrome extension called from a company called 85, which is going to be your YouTube summarizer. That's the first thing you want to start doing is just doing that so you can summarize YouTube videos, especially in this knowledge based like attention grabbing time where you're like your time's the most important commodity. We both know that.
Mhm.
And all your business owners know that. So if you can compress time and make sure that you're getting all your time back and using it to the best of your ability, that is when things are going to shift for you. So that's what you're going to use. You're going to use a YouTube summarizer to help you get the main points of the videos so you can then ask it, what was the hook in this video and how can I use it for
Wow.
mine? The second
Wow.
tool that I want you guys to all really get used to, so you don't have to burn so many calories thinking of the best questions, is a tool that's going to help you with prompt engineering and making prompt engineering better for you. And that's going to be Prompt Perfect. I love Prompt Perfect because remember when we started this conversation in the beginning, I said if you can have 8 Mensa level people working at one time for you, then you are winning. And this tool will help you use 4 to 5 different AI platforms from Meta, from Claude to ChatGPT to ChatHub to wherever you are using any of the AIs to Llama. It will use all of them at one time. If you use Prompt Perfect, you can have that many different AIs working for you. If that sounds like Spanish, it's okay. It'll make sense later. But that's the second thing. And then the third thing that I would suggest that you do, these top 3 things, is learn the art of reverse engineering attention. And that's not an AI thing. That is you taking some time, and I hate to say get on your device, but you're going to need to look at reels in your space and look at the ones that perform with 50 to 60,000 plays and you're going to want to see what did they do. And you're
Yeah.
going to
So
be
what?
shocked.
So with that, you
Mhm.
walk me through that. So I think of that for a lot of the influencers in the Denver area, right? There's a ton of
Mhm.
them, and I see some of them have a lot more success. Some of the food space, what have you. When you're saying to reverse engineer that, if I'm watching a 30-second reel, am I taking notes second by second, every 5 seconds, saying, "Hey, this frame is this"?
Absolutely.
This. Oh, okay. Yeah.
You're gonna be like, "Hey, what did he do to grab my attention? What was the caption that he used? What was what was the movement? What was the sound? Did they use a sound effect?" They usually do. Usually it's like, "Hey, what there's going to be those things and you're going to figure out which tools to use. I love focusing on Instagram. It's just a platform that I enjoy. I'm very visual and I came from a film background, so I really enjoyed that. Some people like TikTok, but you're doing your company a disservice by not finding 3 or 4 high school interns that do this shit all day long and reverse engineering attention in your space. Those 3 things, like learning how to do that, right? Becoming a better prompt engineer, learning how to reverse engineer attention, and really becoming the that voice in your head that you are the one that has the answers. That is going to be how you can utilize all 3 of those tools so you can make yourself a absolute force to be reckoned with. It's just
Sammy,
nuts.
I love you, man. I just love nerding out, and even now, like, I had an idea what we would talk about, but then even still hearing your stories about you personally, but then us nerding out on all these deconstruction, and it's just amazing. And I cannot emphasize enough how exciting it is for me and our company, and I'm from Denver, and the small business group that's on here to literally have you by our side, man. And that's why I wanted to have this podcast
Totally.
interview with you, is because I think it's invaluable for our audience. I think it's a resource that we can constantly give them. And I think you're going to help us learn things that we didn't know to make things better for the Denver area, the Colorado area, and small businesses, because you have done a great job at this. And I know that it to me right now is kind of like at the end of what is that show, Hot Wings? It's not Hot Wings. What is the show where they eat the hot
Hot
wings? And
ones.
hot ones.
Hot ones.
I want you to look at this camera right now and promote yourself, like, because there are because there are things that people are
Totally.
probably, yeah, we can provide them, but like if it's podcasting that you want to hit, like this is your time
Yeah.
to really tell people how to follow you or get these resources, because you are a light, my friend.
Oh, thanks you, brother. Okay, so if you're looking at how to scale or create a podcast, that's Evolved Podcasting, which that is an amazing company we started 4 years ago. In our entire network, we now have over 120 million downloads. So we have seen some shit. And that's over 4 years, dude. 4 years. And we have that many. That's insane amount of downloads and shows that we've produced, and a lot of failures. We've seen a ton of failures, and that's what's great. So Evolve Podcasting, if you're interested in the podcasting space, if you're really excited about how to grow your social media and reverse engineer attention, that's Social Boom. We work hand in hand with those two, but we know that if you can create the wave of energy to get people to your show or to get people to your social media, then you can parlay that into a podcast in long form. That's why I'm from Denver works so well. Your I'm from Denver Instagram page is like blown up. The I'm from Denver content, people go nuts for that. That was why, and only then, that we felt like, you know what, you're in a great spot to start a podcast. Let's parlay that energy and that momentum into the show. And through iterations, that's what happens. But Evolve Podcasting and socialboom.com, those are the two platforms, bro. I appreciate you guys. I would suggest too that we do a recap or another show where I can go deeper in to how we reverse
Without a
engineer
doubt.
that with my partners, so you guys can see with the phone in the screen how you do that. Do you think your guys would want to see that?
Oh, I think they would, and I think it's important for us to do that. To your point, I'm like, I want to use those platforms and tools that you talked about now to deconstruct this episode and just pull out the tidbits. But I do think it's important for us to jump back on and give this audience that little tidbit of information, a 30-second chunk, a 90-second chunk. We don't need to make it a long form, but it is invaluable. And I think that if you're the biggest thing that I want anyone to get from this is, if you're not taking advantage of AI, man, start that right now. Show how it can just like your daily routine, right in there, like what Sammy was saying earlier, right in there what your daily routine is, and ask it if it can make it more efficient for you, or how you can make it more efficient, or how you can fit in an extra hour of you time into that. Like, take advantage of just using it, because this chat GPT is free. I mean, they have paid versions, but it's free. So I implore you that take advantage of what Sammy has on his side if you're already involved in ChatGPT. But if you leave this right now in this podcast and you got a minute, jump into the space if you haven't been in AI, and it will knock your socks off, like 100%.
And I would add one little thing to that. Like, hey, how do I make myself more proficient? How do I do this? What's the outcome that we want from that, Wiggins? How do I have more joy in my life? How do I make this more enjoyable? You don't we don't want time to be more proficient. We just want to be effing happy. Like, hey, how do I do this and be happier? Might be the place to start. Like, if you're finding yourself stuck in a business and you're like, this is driving me effing insane. I did the same thing with our company. I was like, how do I make this fun? How do I find the joy in my life in what I'm doing? And I started asking questions like that. And it was like, hey, you should do more lives. It seems like you have a lot more fun doing this, blah, blah, blah. It's going to give you some ideas. It's going to unjam the log jam, so to speak. So I just, I just love the space because it does bring more joy to our company, my life, and it expands how much more we can do so that I have more time to nerd out with you, which is
Yeah.
the best.
Hey, I think there's no better way to end this podcast, Sammy, than use ChatGPT to find that joy. And hopefully you guys got some information from this. Sammy, I'm looking forward to having you back on for the I'm from Denver audience, especially for our small business group, which if you haven't joined, look for the I'm from Denver small business. You'll find our page right there, our group. Join it. We want to be able to have resources like Sammy. I mean, Sammy, you brought up some great names that we're going to have on this podcast, but there's no better way to kind of launch this AI business talk than with you. And go get that prompt and find that joy. I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks, Wiggins, for having me, man. I can't wait for the next one.
This is I'm From Denver, where the city's stories come to life.